Well, move over Norman Lear and Aaron Spelling with the creations of shows like 10 Speed and Brown Shoe, The Greatest American Hero, and the A-Team, which is doing very well. Our next guest is quickly becoming one of the leading suppliers of programs for network television. His contract with ABC is for over $30 million. What a wallet. Producer, writer extraordinaire, we have to say. Stephen Cannell. Hi, Steve.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay. When you walked in, I said, why was I expecting to see some older gray-haired guy coming in here?
Well, my gray hair is coming in so fast. I gotta tell you, give me about 15, 20 years, and I'm going to be stooped and, you know, balding.
But you're doing okay. I mean, the A-Team is in the top 10.
Yeah, it's, you know, it always surprises me when shows, you know, do well. You know, we're sort of, in a strange way, programmed, you know, for failure in this business because 80% of the shows don't make it, or 85, maybe even higher. So when you get one that works, you really, you know, you have this tremendous tendency to say, well, let's refine it and make it better and change it and everything, but you don't fix them when they're not broken. So,
do you get a lot of criticism from people saying A-Team is violent?
Well, we've certainly had some. You know, it's a action-oriented fantasy adventure with a lot of humor in it. There was one show not too long ago where in the end sequence they dropped watermelons on the heavies, you know, from a helicopter.
So it's a cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I always sort of don't like the term cartoon, but certainly it's not to be taken very seriously, you know, in terms of that.
Now, Mr. T, now there's a guy that, well, what a find, right?
Well,
are you the one that put him in that role?
I suppose I am, you know. It's funny, we started out, and when we wrote the script, the script was created by myself and another writer-producer that's under contract to my company named Frank Lupo. And we wrote the script, and, you know, we had this kind of glowering black guy with a, you know, that had a bad attitude was his name. And when we got it all finished and we sent it over to the network and we started talking about who could play it, you know, Mr. T was absolutely the best choice. And we signed him first, because we just knew we'd never do any better, and of course he's just been terrific for us.
Had you seen him in Rocky 3?
Yeah, I had.
So he kind of, that already left an impression in your mind, I guess, when you ran into him.
Yeah, and the thing that was interesting about it, my only concern about T before I met him was I thought, well, you know, television is a medium where the stars, I think, have to be likable, have to be friendly. You know, people are inviting these people into their homes every night. And I was just a little frightened that maybe he was going to be like Clubber Lang, you know, that he was going to be that intense, you know, angry, you know, guy. And when I went to a taping that he was doing on Silver Spoons, and I watched him after the show talking to the audience and the kids and signing the autograph, and, you know, he's, you know, realized what a tremendously warm guy he was. And then when we talked in my office before I signed him, you know, realizing that he's got a great sense of humor and he loves to laugh, and so all of those things, I think, are what makes him great for our show, because he comes across not just as an angry guy, but as a, you know, there's a warmth there that people are seeing, and that's what...
Network television, I guess anybody, even, you know, you're a viewer at home, you can tell the one show immediately sparks another show that's slightly a spin-off of the other show. Now the A-Team is so successful this year. Now next year maybe there'll be 3 spin-offs like it. Is there some secret you use for, I guess, getting it on the network and maybe guiding the networks to think in that direction?
You mean that I use in terms of...
Yeah, when you try to sell them a show, okay, you come up with a show like the A-Team.
Yeah, I tell you what, all I'm really looking for in a show is a show that I would like to write. You know, there are no formulas for success. If there were, then you know, I would use them and I would never miss. I wouldn't have shows that fail like The Quest did last year, you know. I mean, there are no formulas. I think what you have to do is believe in what you're doing, try and be as honest about the writing and the producing as you possibly can. Try and put the best effort out to make an entertaining show that you think that you would like to watch. And I never really even think about what other people would like to watch, whether other people would enjoy watching the shows. I'm just trying to make them so that I would enjoy watching them. I'm the only barometer I have. And if I start trying to say, well, what would you like? Or what would a network like? Then I'm already in a guessing game. But if I can write something and say, well, I know I like this show. I mean, 6 years after the Rockford Files, I still enjoyed writing them. I did about 50 of them, and they never tired me, and I love to do that show.
It's fun to have a show like Rockford Files that never gets old. I mean, we still see it today. I mean, it's still in syndication.
Yeah.
It'll go on forever, I guess.
I hope.
Yeah. And again, it's what you said, you were happy with it.
Yeah, I love doing it. We all love doing it, and that, I think, is, you know, with most of your successful shows, you'll find that's true. that there is a little theater feeling that grows around a successful show. If you talk to the people who did the Mary Tyler Moore Show, or the people that did Lou Grant, or the people that did shows that stayed on for a long time, most of them had a real feeling of family about them. The writers and the directors and the stars and the actors and the people in the crew were, were back year after year, and all of that positive energy got up on the screen in terms of good entertainment.
Another big success you did, Baretta, was one that you created. Ran how many seasons?
3.5. It
was 3.5. Another one that got, I think if I can remember correctly, got rave reviews from the critics, but for some reason died, was the Black Sheep Squadron. It had problems, which I don't know, were you in control of those problems, or did you get out of your hands when you got on network?
It was a show that, there are 2 shows that I had that I think were canceled hits. One was Black Sheep, and the other was 10-Speed. When we went off the air with Black Sheep Squadron, we were doing a 30 share, a 30 to a 35 share. It was a show that I always believed, had they stuck with it just a little bit longer, because it was always in tough time periods, and yet it was a real solid performer in those time periods. And if you graphed the 3-year run of that show, it was a constant graph upwards. I mean, there were some shows that the Nielsen number was down a little bit, but the next week it would bounce up. And in general, if you just drew a line across it, it was going up. And it was a show that I really felt the audience was beginning to respond to more and more each week. And when they canceled it, both Universal and myself and Bob Conrad, who was the star of the show, we couldn't believe it.
Well, yeah, he was a big fan of that show, in addition to being the star of the show.
Yeah.
Now, didn't ABC have a psychic under contract when 10-Speed and Brown Shoe?
Yeah. Beverly Dean picked us a loser, and she was right.
I mean, there was a big scandal in that in itself, too, that they had actually hired somebody to pick the winners and the losers. What do you think about it? Here you are putting your blood into a show like that, and then there's somebody that's a psychic that's going to tell you whether it wins or loses.
Well, I don't think I mean, that was just an opinion that she happened to be correct. I don't think that it was her opinion that got the show canceled. I mean, the show was canceled because ABC lost faith in it and didn't feel that it was performing. If she had said it was going to be a failure and it was doing a 40 share, it'd still be on. I mean, at the time, I razzed my friends over at ABC a little bit about the fact that they were hiring psychics to, predict hits and misses, and they did not respond to the joke, so I let it go.
Have you sold any episodes or pilots for next season?
Yeah, I have 2. I have one with ABC called Rolling Thunder that stars Brian Keith and Daniel Hugh Kelly, which is currently in New York. We're waiting to hear on it. And I have another one called Slade Town with NBC that stars Chad Everett.
All action shows?
No, they're really, I think if I were to say what kind of programming do I really do, it's character comedies. I mean, Slade Town is about a family that lives at a carnival. And, it's a very funny show. It has action elements in it. He's a bouncer at a carnival, but basically he protects all the other acts there, and his family is, a really colorful family, and it's a family character comedy. And Rolling Thunder is about a retired judge and an ex-car thief that go out to hunt criminals. And they're an odd couple. You have Brian Keith, who's kind of a Maximum John kind of a guy, wants to throw the book at everybody, and Daniel Hugh Kelly plays this young car thief that got caught up with this guy. And
you still write every day, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a rare combination, though, isn't it?
Well, I mean, everything that's good that's happened for me has come out of my typewriter. And, I just feel that I enjoy writing so much that it would be silly for me to just become an executive and bend away from that. I mean, for me, the great thrill still comes from putting, the words down on the paper and being able to control the casting and see how they finish up. And when you're the writer, it feels much better than when you're not.
Can you stay with us for a little bit?
Sure, absolutely.
We're going to be right back with Dr. Rachel Copeland, who's going to talk about self-hypnosis.